Rey is not going to be a villain. The hero of the latest Star Wars trilogy is not going to break bad in this December's Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. It's just that the people at Lucasfilm and Disney want you to think that, so they lie to you with trailers.
Who here wants to see a teaser trailer?
If the new Star Wars movies have taught us anything, it's that they are hewing as close as possible to the original trilogy without being out-and-out remakes. The first movie is about a hero rising out of family tragedy from a remote desert planet to find a greater purpose. The second film is a battle for that hero's soul. And the third film will be about the hero realizing their power and place and setting everything right. The issue is, how do you sell a retread? A dazzling, involving, often quite moving retread, but a retread just the same to both a new generation of fans looking for something to latch onto, and also the core generation of fans who made Star Wars the billion-dollar generating juggernaut that it is today. How do you appeal to the sensibilities of children and the young at heart, but actually middle-aged? You sell the one, and you deliver to the other.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
Most trailers lie, but Star Wars lies about something very specific: who the movie is for. And they do this with genre signaling, suggesting a tone that the film rarely follows through on, and character misdirection, driving interest in dramatic situations that rarely materialize. Here are a few examples of what I'm talking about. Written and produced by frequent Disney collaborator Jon Favreau, The Mandalorian is a bounty hunter story set between the end of the original trilogy and the beginning of the latest set of films. It stars the guy from Narcos, the guy from Predator, the guy from Breaking Bad, an ex-MMA fighter, and the guy who directed Fitzcarraldo.
Do these people not look like they belong in the Star Wars universe?
Judging by the trailer, this show will have more in common with Sicario than it does campfire sing-alongs with Ewoks. We are shown stormtrooper helmets mounted on spikes, dust, dirt, wear, tear, and in black, and a Reservoir Dogs-style showdown with blasters. But is that what we're gonna get? Star Wars is not an anti-hero story. It's not a revisionist Western, and it's not an intergalactic gangster saga. It's a fairy tale. Some fans may long for the more complicated and compromised version of this story, but ultimately, that is not something that Disney can or wants to deliver. So if you're going to The Mandalorian hoping for Sam Peckinpah in space,
This is not going to go the way you think.
The Mandalorian is the maiden voyage of the USS Disney Plus, and it needs to satisfy more than just 40-something fans of genre movies. If you want to know the key shot in the trailer, it's not the duels, the barters, or the German bad guys, it's this. Who are these two people? I have no idea. But if I had to guess, their safety will be the real mission of this show. Protecting that little kid, helping the helpless, doing the right thing, choosing the light over the dark, being part of something more than just yourself. That's what Pedro Pascal's quest in this show will be about, and it will happen as bloodlessly as possible.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession. Don't you agree?
The Mandalorian will almost certainly be pretty friggin' cool, but it's going to be cool to 12-year-olds, their parents, their siblings, their babysitters, their aunts, and 40-somethings who have fully sketched out Han and Greedo prequel stories in their heads, banging around in there since the 1980s.
For my dead body.
But there's nothing like hearing thousands of people who are excited and curious and anticipating to see what they've been waiting to see. And they sounded happy. I hope they were. We certainly are.
You cannot please everyone, but if you are Disney, it's more important not to alienate anyone. This show cost at least $100 million to make. It may satisfy the curiosity that Favreau has harbored about the freakier side of Star Wars, the Mad Max side of Star Wars, but it's still Star Wars.
I rebel.
We're only 3 years removed from one of the writers of Rogue One stating publicly that he was trying to make Zero Dark 30 in space. And the first teaser trailer for that Star Wars anthology movie certainly suggested that they may have pulled it off. Air raid sirens blared, prisoners miserably scuttled along, and the rebels looked like actual outcasts. The final product, which was the work of 2 directors and who knows how many writers, had some real edge to it, but it was ultimately the same old story. An orphaned hero finds a surrogate family, goes on some wild adventures, and against great odds, saves the galaxy. Yes, the 2 heroes of Rogue One perished in that quest, but even that tragic ending, darker even than Empire Strikes Back or Revenge of the Sith, has been mitigated by the fact that one of the characters, Cassian Andor, is coming back in a Rogue One prequel. no one ever really dies. Solo was sold as a great train robbery western and a heist movie, but ultimately followed the same playbook. Brilliant, if misunderstood, and underachieving kid figures it out with a little help from his friends. The Last Jedi was sold as a psychodrama triangle between Kylo Ren, Rey, and Luke Skywalker, but never betrayed the fact that the actual hero of the movie might be Laura Dern, and that there was going to be an extended animal rights sequence in the middle of the second act. Part of these genre shifts are down to the fact that modern Star Wars filmmaking is a notoriously volatile enterprise. Directors come and go, enormous changes are made to original scripts, but ultimately, we keep coming back to marketing. We come back to the story Lucasfilm and Disney want to tell us about the story of Star Wars.
We've passed on all we know. A 1,000 generations live in you now.
Star Wars wants us to grapple with adult themes with theme park consequences. They want us to think about the possibilities of the darkness while rarely ever leaving the light. Which brings us back to the Rise of Skywalker, the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning, or whatever this all is. How do you sell this movie as anything else but a repeat of Return of the Jedi? You pretend that the outcome is somehow in question. How can a character that has inspired countless boys and girls, that has become an icon, that has managed to wear the heavy crown of Luke Skywalker and not wobble underneath it, how could she possibly be anything but the hero of this story? She can't. But it's no fun knowing that, so we go along with the lie. You pretend like Rey could wind up straying from the path, that she could go full Daenerys Targaryen. You go into the months leading up to the release of the final film in this enormous undertaking, actually considering the possibility that Rey could be wielding the Darth Maul-style lightsaber in anything other than a bad dream. And you know what? You buy it. I buy it. Because Star Wars isn't just the story of a generation, it's the salesman of one too.